All right, here we are in the HT garage with Mrs. Heeltoe's Grand Prix White S2000, and we recently installed this AFE intake system that we're going to be changing out today in favor of this CT-Engineering carbon intake. Are you excited for the new addition?
I am.
How long did you wait for this intake?
Longer than anyone else.
But the very first one has been here the whole time. These have a molded plastic box with a foam filter element and a carbon lid, which makes it look super cool. We got the intake tube here, goes like that under the hood. CT-Engineering made these off of the Comtech parts that were originally made. They don't have the Comtech logo anymore, but it is a legit part. We got these couplers, some installation brackets, the inlet tube with a nice velocity stack. I decided also along the way to dress up that cross beam with one of our Fastline Performance carbon cross beam covers. These are pretty dope, all carbon fiber construction, should match the lid nicely. So first things first, we're gonna pull out this AFE intake. All right, got that AFE intake out, which is actually a pretty simple thing to do. And you can see here that the S2000 has this cross member here that's overall kind of an ugly part of the car. The factory airbox covers all this up so you can't normally see it, but as soon as you put any performance intake in there, it sticks right out. And we have a great solution for making that look better. This is our Fastline Performance cross beam cover. It's all carbon fiber. We have a couple of different weaves available. It usually will just clip into place over the factory pinch wells underneath here and stay there. We do provide some double-sided tape to secure it even more strongly if you feel like you need to. Like lots of Honda intakes, this breather hose needs to be replaced with a rubber hose provided in the kit. And they always weld together this coolant line that goes from the engine block to the throttle body. So this whole thing comes out as one piece and gets replaced with these two hoses. So now we got this coolant line installed. Now we've got to look at putting the actual icebox in. So that's going to go right over here. As you can see, the horn is in the way. So the horn is going to get relocated elsewhere. I think down here. We're going to get...
I don't use it anyways.
No, you don't use the horn. No, just revs. Revs only. So we're going to relocate the horn so the box can fit, and we have a couple of other brackets that we need to put in for this to go, and all the parts necessary are included with the kit. So here's 2 brackets to mount the box and 1 for that horn relocation. Alright, this is the horn before. Alright, now we got to take this nut off the bottom. That's going to be replaced with this new bracket in the CT kit. You're supposed to orient this in a specific angle shown in the instructions. I think this is it. Yours should look pretty much like this. And we got to loosen this nut right here, this bolt, on a little bracket, and that's where we're going to mount the horn next. kind of tricky, but you can do it. Yeah, like this. All right, cool. Horn done. So now before we start installing anything, you can see there's a little bit of dirtiness, and at least likes things nice and clean. So I'm going to use a little bit of this Adams waterless wash. Get a little mild cleaning up in here. Maybe I need some more. Ah. Okay, here it goes. Don't need a lot, obviously. Having to do everything left-handed while you're holding the camera is really difficult. Alright, well, it's cleaner than it was, for sure. Your car is super clean, Lise. Overall.
I know, because I don't drive it.
Why not?
Because it's always blocked. It's blocked by that, by that, by that.
Hey now, let's
all
focus.
That.
Stay focused.
This guy is always blocking my car. Does it fit?
It will.
Some modification needed.
No, none at all. Perfect. I think I might have screwed up a bracket. Hold on.
You need like the Jeopardy. Do, 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 do.
All right. I'll ask
You don't
directions.
have the directions memorized to your own product?
Hold on now. No, I don't. Okay, we got the horn.
Next question. Have you ever installed one of these before?
Yes, I did. I think that bracket needs to actually get replaced with this bracket.
Does that come with the kit?
Yes.
Oh, that makes sense then.
It does. So, you know, I weaseled in the camera to get that cool shot on this bracket, and I'm gonna have to take it off.
Well, you know, do it once, then read the instructions, then do it again.
It's the man's way. So, oops. Shit.
What kind of mechanic are you? Oh, great.
Okay. This is the bolt. There's 3 of these that hold the airbox in place. The ones that CT-Engineering used to provide. And I found that this box fits pretty snugly in here. A longer bolt really helps a lot. So any new kits that we ship out, we're putting in longer bolts. But for this installation, I don't have any. So I'm gonna use this longer bolt instead. It especially helps with this back hole where you can kind of see where it's supposed to line up. But if the bolt's not long enough, you just can't get it started. So tip, if you're having trouble, maybe a little bit longer bolt would help. All right, once you got the back bolt in, you're gonna take this bracket with the nut on the end of it. You're gonna slide it behind the fender through this little hole and line it up with this hole. And once you see it lined up there, then you're gonna put a bolt through the box to line it up. Again, longer bolt here may be really helpful. All right, with the help of the lovely car owner, I was able to get this bolt in with the funky fender bracket that goes inside there, which is, you know, pretty helpful to have an extra hand. So hopefully you got as nice of a hand as this one. And I got the longer bolt in the back started, and I had to do the same thing in the front as well. Like I said, newer kits come with longer bolts, so you shouldn't have too much trouble with that. My toolbox is flush with all kinds of Honda bolts, so I made good use out of that. One little fitment hiccup that came up is right here. You can see the box and the radiator fan shroud have a little interference. This is because we've got this sweet coil racing radiator in here. You know, and we did have to move the engine torque damper to the side. It's not going to fit with this box as is. And so the lesson here is nobody screwed up, you know. Ingalls doesn't suck, CT doesn't suck, neither does Koyo. But none of these companies make their product with the thought of other products in mind. They're making a good engine torque damper and a good intake and a good radiator. So, you know, these fitment concerns are just sort of part of car customizing. A lot of times we get people wanting to return something because it doesn't fit, or get upset with us because it doesn't fit with the other thing that they got. All right. With these bolts tightening down, the instructions literally say start the bolts and then tighten them down as you push in the box, because you actually are going to be compressing these air conditioning lines. They're like pushed up underneath the bottom of the air box, and that's pretty normal. It's okay to bend AC lines. They're really actually very flexible. They're just soft aluminum. Of course, you don't want to bend them too hard or too far, but certainly if you have to bend them a little bit, that's something that happens in car modding a lot too. So don't feel too afraid to really push this thing down. You're not going to break anything. Okay, cool. Looks like I got all these bolts in here the way they need to go. All right, with the airbox in, now we're going to prepare the intake tube. So I got the inlet coupler over there. The clamps on, just slides over the throttle body. I'm going to put that in sort of loose for now. And we've got this large hump hose. It's going to go on the other end here, like so. Okay, and then this tube is going to go here and line itself up into the box. Great. Now with all that in place, you can snug down these clamps a little bit, although I'm not going to put it together super tight quite yet. I like to do these from the ends in so that we can really hold this funnel against the edge of the box. That'll really help when we put the filter on later. These don't need to be over tightened either. I think a lot of people do that. Ultimately, as long as you can't twist it, it's probably tight enough. So you don't really need to go much tighter than that. You can crank this all day long, but you probably just break the clamp. Those are in. And at this time, you can take the intake air temperature sensor, plug that in where it goes down below. Got the breather tube. Just going to slide on here and plug it into there. I've got the clamps. We'll throw the clamps on there before we're finished, and then zip tie this sensor wire. Air filter comes in these bags. It's a foam filter and pre-oiled, so you can see the oil inside. It is a little messy, which is unfortunate, so try to have a rag handy. Yeah, there's oil all over these things, which helps to trap dirt and debris that's going to enter the filter. All right, the way these filters and cones are designed, the filter actually holds the cone into the box. You can see the cone is sitting here now because of how we have the clamps, but when we tighten down this filter, it's actually going to provide clamping on the outside that will keep it in place better. It's important to try to get this filter on as good as you can, all the way over the cone, and then you want to end up with the screw oriented in a way that you can tighten it. So I can have a line of sight to it here, and I can tighten it down. If you end up with that underneath here or on the bottom, you'll never get it snug, so just pay attention to that. All right, the pièce de résistance, carbon lid, and these can be a little finicky. So on some of them, we test fit them all, and on some of them we actually oversize these holes so that they're a little bit easier to line up. And depending on how much you had to wedge the airbox into place, you may or may not get some finicky fitment on a couple of these. So I like to start with the ones that you can get easier. And only put them in a couple of threads. Lined up, lined up, lined up. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one's really kind of fit.
Want me to push?
But the problem is, See, once again,
Oh, the radiator.
the radiator, yeah.
Oh, I see.
That's kind of making this not want to go. Yeah, with the radiator, I think, well, I had this hung up on the bolt here. It needed to be on the right side of that wrong thing. Ultimately, making sure that it fits in great before you are done, before you start blaming the thing for not being made right, obviously, stuff like that makes a difference. All right, there she is. CT-Engineering Carbon Icebox intake installed. And went in really, really nice. And of course, we've got the Fastline Performance Cross Beam cover in there to match. Carbon, e-carbon. So I think we're going to do some more of a carbon theme on the underhood here, right?
Yeah, I'm super thrilled.
You're all about it, right?
Totally.
Oh yeah, totally. Some pros and cons, right? Pro, it looks really cool. The carbon is something that's pretty unique, especially at this price point. And the performance is there. The way this intake is designed, I mean, this was actually designed by the people at Comtech, which were IndyCar engineers. So they really know what they're doing. Came up with this really unique design, and combined with the foam filter, you're going to get a lot of performance. Other pro, it's CARB exempt. So if you're in California or any other pollution control states or places where they will need that, obviously, you can pass no problem with it. Some negatives. Fitment with the ETD is pretty snug. I did ultimately get that on there, but it is making contact. So it is a little tight fitting there, a little tight fitting with the radiator. And obviously it's a little finicky getting this box in place. It's a well-made part, but it's kind of a tricky thing to bolt in place, especially when you consider that this part was originally developed and designed in like 2000 when the S2000 first came out, and is fitting all years up to 2009. So there's bound to be some changes and things that happen over the years that cause the kit maybe not to be as perfect as it was. Another negative is, given that this comes straight off the throttle body, you're not going to get quite as much clearance for different types of tower braces. Tower braces are a really great mod for stiffening up the front end, but you're going to have some limited choices with this. I think the Cusco titanium one that's long discontinued fits. Obviously a Comtech bar would fit, but few others do. So we're going to do some evaluation on that now that we have the brace on here to see if we can find ones that work the best. And I think the one last thing that's kind of a negative is this sort of rough area on the top of the tube here, which is only there because that's where the Comtech logo used to be. Products changed over to the CT-Engineering brand name. They needed to remove that, so that involved some work to the mold that unfortunately left an inconsistent mark right in a very visible place. Obvious, not a huge detractor. I think the carbon box really takes the show on that whole thing. So ultimately, really, really great intake. Carb exempt, good performance, fits great, and available at Heeltoe, definitely. Thank you so much for watching our video. Mrs. Heeltoe, Mr. Heeltoe, working on the HT spec S2K. We're gonna keep taking videos of parts that we put on this car, and if you really like them, definitely give us a thumbs up and comment below if there's something that you want to add or something you'd like to see us put on the car. We're happy to do that for you. Thanks a lot for watching. Heeltoe's in your corner.